of Robert Pecker. It wasn't to get any of that testimony. They didn't care about any of that. And they had no case, and they still have no case. The testimony they wanted and why they wanted a jury and why they wanted it so quick, the testimony they wanted was from Stephanie Gregory Clifford, and that's what John Yoo said yesterday. John Yoo told Neil Cavuto, shaking his head, going, I still can't believe that the judge has allowed this because it has absolutely nothing to do with the alleged legal case that Alvin has brought against Trump.
0.0.
Zero, zippo, zilch, nada, nothing. So why did the judge allow then Stephanie Gregory Clifford to get up there and testify? Because the case is now about Me Too. This is what John Yoo told Cavuto. Now, he didn't say Me Too, but he was shaking his head and he's going like, they're not even attempting. He goes, there's not even an attempt now to make the legal case that this trial is supposedly about. What they're doing now is they're setting Trump up as Harvey Weinstein. And if the judge doesn't give proper instructions to the jury's going to go into that room and they're going to convict him of Me Tooing Stormy Daniels. Mark it, dude. You heard it here first. They're going to, now some of you may not care. I understand, I get that. We should always care about miscarriages of justice because they can happen to us. They can do it to him, they can do it to you. They're going to go into that jury room when this whole circus, this six-ring circus is over. They're going to go into that jury room and they are going to convict him of sexually harassing Stephanie Gregory Clifford. This is Joe Biden versus Clarence Thomas, 1991, all over again. The testimony, the transcripts of the testimony, I read it. I'm looking at the excerpts of the testimony that they're leaking out, basically, and I'm looking at it going like, what the hell does this have to do with an election? What does it have to do with election laws? It doesn't have any. She described the sex that she had with him. And then basically afterwards, he kicked her to the curb. And I'm going like, what does that have to do? And Trump's attorneys kept standing up and going like, objection, 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 objection. This is irrelevant. And the judge allowed it. This guy's going to get disbarred. I don't know how much they're paying him, but it must be enough to tide him over for the rest of his life because that judge is going to get disbarred when this whole thing is over, when Trump ultimately wins on an appeal. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he wins on appeal. Ladies and gentlemen, you must understand this. They're going to convict him. They're going to take the mugshot. They're going to walk him into the jail. And that's all you need because the American citizens out there are not very well informed. And many people, and you are going to now see, you think the summer of BLM love was hell? Dude, you will be going like, that was a rehearsal. It wasn't even a good rehearsal for what's coming your way. If you think that these deranged, immature, my gosh, I run out of adjectives to describe them. If you think that these deranged wenches that you're seeing at all these anti-Israel protests on campuses, that's warm-up. They're in training. This is training. This is training for what they're going to do this summer. Because wherever he goes, they're going to have riots. I must say this in context, my friends. I'm not trying to gross anyone out. They're going to have pussy hat riots. That's what they're going to do. They're gonna treat him like he's Harvey frickin' Weinstein. They're gonna treat him like he's Charlie Rose. They're gonna treat him like he's a Me Tooer, and he was convicted of Me Tooing that poor woman. Now, it doesn't seem to matter to anyone that we were talking about a not so much garden variety, but a very recognizable, shall we say, lady of the night. No, I'm going to go with what she really is. Slut. The Democrat Party and what remains of Al Qaeda. Someone on TV the other day was asking the question, where are the feminists? What happened to all the feminists? Where did all the angry, ugly lesbian women go? The remaining members of Al Qaeda out there, Hillary is among them. I will play you the digital media files today of Hillary basically making the Weinstein case against Trump. That's what you're going to get. Crusade Radio Network. That's what this whole campaign now is going to be about. It is going to be the summer of sluts. It is going to be the summer of tramps. It's going to be the summer of pea-hats. And it's coming. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. The only kink in the entire, the only little sparkle of light, because even if he's acquitted, he's guilty. He's going to OJ him. Even if he's acquitted, he did it. The only sparkle of light, sliver of light, is the fact that there are two attorneys on that jury. One who has actually tried jury cases. So there may be one person in that room that will go like, we're not here to decide whether or not he's Harvey Weinstein or whether or not he harassed that poor woman. And then the idea here is that this woman is some poor, helpless little damsel in distress. As she has been painted into big, bad, mean orange man came along, sat down beside her, and then stole her curds and whey. The Democrat Party is resourceful, but I never thought that they were this resourceful. So a grave injustice is being done. This is going to be remembered now as the trial of the century. If you're legal and you're watching or listening to any of this, there's not much legal to see here because Judge Marchand has basically allowed this thing to just become a mockery. It's like it's a sitcom. Monty Python couldn't write to this. As a matter of fact, Monty Python Eric Idle may have written this because he hates Trump. I feel for the guy. You know who else? I feel for the family. I mean, the testimony from the woman is salacious. This has no business. No one ever needed to know this. But they know it now, or they're going to, and if they don't know it, they're going to know it. You watch the campaign ads that are going to come out. You watched what they're going to say about him. Now, at the end of the day, I still think Biden loses. But at the end of the day, you haven't seen President Trump coming out in the afternoon saying that this is a hoax and all this because he knows. Remember, this is the guy that hosted The Apprentice, the #1 TV show in all of prime time for 7 years. He knows what impact this is having, that this is salacious, sensational television. And you American Schursons out there, welcome back to the Mike Church Show on the Crusade Radio Network, all of you listening out there, especially on our flagship station, 1010 WXKG in Atlanta. Good morning to you. Trump knows the value of the televised word, and he knows the value of this kind of a circus. He did not come the last time he spoke was 2 days ago, and that was in the morning before he went in there, before Stephanie Gregory Clifford began her hysterical and salacious so-called testimony. I mean, I just watched an episode of Supernatural last night, and Dean Winchester reminded me, you know what this is? This is a story, a fictional story that's taken right out of an issue of Penthouse Forum. You gentlemen that are older, you know what I'm talking about. This is a Penthouse Forum story. Fiction, complete and total fiction, but it doesn't matter. And you can just watch the usual suspect shows, and you can see this is set up. Anyway, they did it to Clarence Thomas, and Clarence Thomas recovered. Clarence Thomas didn't do any of the stuff that he was accused of doing, but Clarence Thomas wasn't accused of being a serial adulterer. That's what Trump is being accused of, basically, and is going to be convicted of being a serial adulterer. Remember, he's married. Remember, Melania is still there. Remember, at the time of this incident, he's married to Melania. So this then, again, and this is probably part of the plan to break the family up from within, just destroy this man. At the time of this alleged incident, this says he is married to Melania. The only thing that he did say when he came out yesterday, or he said somewhere, he talked about Barron's graduation coming up, and he's a good kid, and he's smart and all this. He didn't say anything about what's going on in that room because he knows it is a soon-to-be detonated neutron bomb. It's amazing how the Democrat Party. It's amazing just the depths. You know, I was talking with, who was I talking with the other day? I think it was Carrie, on the episode of the Church Doctrine with Carrie Grass. I was saying, can you imagine what Lucifer is down in the seventh, according to Dante? He's down on the seventh level of hell, but he's looking up and he's watching all of this going on, and he's going like, man, I am going to have to get Dante. Somehow God's going to have to reanimate Dante, or someone like Dante. He's going to have to rewrite the Inferno part of the Divine Comedy, and he's going to have to add a new layer of hell that Lucifer and the boys are carving out right now to hold members of the Democrat Party and of the Roman Catholic clergy. The skulls of Bishop paving the floor from St. John Chrysostom, that doesn't work anymore. That's still, they're going to be a level below that one for these people. So if you are a Trump 2024 person, and I still think that of the choices that are available that have an opportunity or a chance to win, he's the one that could prevent the most amount of future damage. Note how I worded that. I don't believe that the deep state or any of this stuff gets. But I don't know, man. I can hope for it. Bobby Kennedy right now is looking better and better every day. As a matter of fact, we have a soundbite from Bobby Kennedy. He was asked about the A word. Young man, did you just say the A word? He was asked about the A word. And he actually kind of answered it correctly. We're going like, no, I don't have a date set certain. I think we just leave it up to the states. So lots to get here and lots to talk about here today. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker Jeffries. Did I say that? Well, I'm sorry. Speaker Johnson is, we're going to talk about this. There's lots to get to here today. It's a free phone Friday, 844-527-8723. Give us a call. We'll be right back, folks. We'll get the rest of this unpacked for you. Hey, it's the King Dude for My Pillow. Mike Lindell sent me my first set of My Pillows 14 years ago. I loved them then, and I still love that same set of original My Pillows today. True story. Now, that's a testament to the craftsmanship and quality of the My Pillow. But don't take my word for it. Go try it for yourself. Use my unique code and get huge discounts and free shipping on all orders by going to mypillow.com/King Dude. That's mypillow.com/King Dude. Hi, it's Mike Church.
And I'm Mike Parrott.
Almost every American schoolchild can tell you what 3 rights are in the Declaration of Independence. That among these are
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But their civics knowledge ends there, and that's a problem. That's why I'm proud to have participated in one effort that I hope addresses this issue, the Covington Compact.
That's right, Mike. You can see the compact at crusadechannel.com/compact.
Strike a blow for New Christendom. Read, sign, and distribute the Covington Compact today at crusadechannel.com/compact.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-245-8178. 800-245-8178. That's 800-245-8178.
The Crusade Channel, your news, talk, and midday show station. Fiorella De Maria lowers your blood pressure and chats with you over lunch. Lunch, talk, and chat radio is live, noon Eastern, on CrusadeChannel.com.
The King Dude, working toward the day when all Walmarts are sold out of women's kitchen aprons and frying pans.
Drive a million miles to be with you tonight.
Proudly displaying a patently white guy thumbs up as my avatar. It's the Mike Church Show here, the longest running long-form continual radio broadcast on air anywhere in the world. Today here on the Crusade Radio Network, on a free phone Friday at 844-527-8723. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at MyPillow.com/King Dude. MyPillow.com/King Dude. $25 extravaganza sale is rolling on at MyPillow. Check it out today. Please use our link so that the Crusade Radio Network gets credit. MyPillow.com/King Dude. $25 extravaganza sale. MyPillow sandals, $25. 4-pack of dish towels, $25. 4-pack, 6-pack regular towels, and they have like 8 different colors, $25. Free shipping on orders $75 or more, because you know me. That's a great deal. Take advantage of it. And if you already have a MyPillow account, if you're going to go buy something there, because I told you that great deals were there, put the coupon code KINGDUDE into the box, get greater discounts, and we get the credit. That's MyPillow.com/King Dude. Okay. Headline of the day. Head over to the Federalist.com. Here you go. Mike Johnson gave Democrats everything they wanted, and all he got was this stupid Churchill T-shirt. I didn't even know they made a stupid Churchill T-shirt from Eddie Scarry. Hakeem Jeffries was out there yesterday boasting and bragging that basically he is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And that basically we're legislating for all of America these days because we have because we're acting all bipartisan, and stuff. And that's what American people out there want. They want us to act all bipartisan here. And as I have told you, you hear the word bipartisan, don't just drop what you're doing and turn around and walk away. Drop what you're doing and run. Anytime they say bipartisan, that means you lose. That's heads. Here, if I have the coin, that's heads I win, tails you lose. That's heads they win, tails we lose. Dems played Mike Johnson with absurd comparisons to Churchill. Look, I'm not even going to entertain this because I don't believe that guy is that stupid. What I think is far more likely is that, there you can see it, Maggie just flashed it up on the screen. What I think is far more likely, there's the headline from the Federalist, this guy was a plant. They knew what they were doing when they went with him. It's the only conclusion that you can come to is that he was somewhat of a known quantity, he had to have been, and they knew what they were getting, and that's why they didn't protest it too mightily. They certainly protested against even the idea that Jim Jordan could be Speaker, remember? They didn't want that, because it could have gone from Kevin McCarthy to Jim Jordan. That was kind of the plan. They weren't going to let the NCAA four-time NCAA wrestling champion and Olympian, they weren't going to let him get anywhere near that gavel. So Johnson was the dude, and they knew he was the guy. Is the point? I think that this guy. I think that he is doing what he wants to do. You know, this is one of the examples where your knowledge of Christianity is actually important. Because if you have the knowledge of your Christian faith, especially if you're a well-studied Catholic, you would know this. If you had the knowledge of the Christian faith, then you would know that when the word or the term or the proper noun Israel is said, it doesn't mean what a guy like Johnson thinks it means. Doesn't mean what Lindsey Graham thinks it means. It doesn't mean the chosen people of the world, of the Bible, and that we must defend them even if we have to die. I was on Twitter yesterday. I posted a video of an 8-year-old, of an 8-year-old Palestinian child who had her legs blown off. I don't know how they got blown off. All I know is that she was wailing about it. I want my legs back, I want my legs back, and the parents were trying to console her. As I said yesterday, the video came from a good source, and I stand by that it came from a good source. Well, lo and behold, wouldn't you know, an old friend of mine who just happens to be a practicing modern Jewish or a modern Jew, saw my tweet and then began to chastise me. Did you post the pictures of this? Did you post the raping, dragging to the street of the people that were killed on October the 7th and this and that and the other? And I'm like, my post said the horrors of war. I am allowed to be mortified when communist children had their damn legs blown off. That's a controversial part of war. It doesn't mean we have to celebrate it. We have to go, yay, war. I don't like children being played. I don't like them being blown up. I don't like them being shot at. I don't like them being aborted. So when I get this lecture, you don't need to read this entire piece of all the atrocities that these Muslims have done to the Jews. And I'm going like, I'm not going to be lectured, okay? I am not going to be lectured by people unless you're, okay, I'll read it. Are you going to read the 1,000-year history of what the Mohammedans did to Mediterranean Christians? Because if you're not, then I'm not going to listen, okay? The idea here that the Mohammedans only go after and only hate Jewish people is preposterous. It's ridiculous. If you don't convert to Islam, you are a dog. Now, there aren't that many Orthodox Muslims left in the world who tell you that, but they are out there. And so my response is, well, I'll just tell you, it was Debbie Schlussel. I said, well, there was at least 3 orders that I'm aware of. One of them, the Mercedarians, that was formed in Christendom for the sole and explicit purpose of ransoming Christians from Mohammedans. The Mohammedans had gone into villages across the Mediterranean, in Italy, in Spain, in France, in Portugal. They even went further inland sometimes. And they had gone and they had ransacked. They'd gone into Switzerland, they'd gone into Germany. They had gone, and yes, they raped. Yes, they robbed. Yes, they pillaged. And then they captured. And they killed. They killed most of the men unless they needed them to be slaves or unless they vowed to convert. They captured the children, took them and turned them, as I said yesterday and been saying for years, turned them into special ops warriors for the Muslim armadas and armies. Janissaries are what they are called. The women, they impressed into sex slavery. Yes, they raped them incessantly. So the Mercenarians come along and start raising funds. St. Peter in Alaska, right? Start raising money because the Mohammedans will give a Christian back that they have captured and impressed into slavery or into sex slavery or into whatever other jizya they've impressed them into. They will release them if you pay them. And in over centuries, the Mercenarians ransomed over 1.5 million Christians. So I'm not going to be lectured by people about an attack that happened on October the 7th and about the atrocities of it. I abhor them. As I said, I don't ever like children being blown up, women being raped, or men killed. But you see, this is the accusation. Either you are for the resulting attempt to exterminate an entire country of people, or you're with them. I'm not with them. I am not with them. And I'm not going to let you go out there in the world and say that I'm with them, because I'm not. You know what I did yesterday? I went and observed the feast of a Jew. His name was Jesus of Nazareth. He ascended into heaven. Ascension Thursday yesterday. Do you know what? It was in the Jewish land where he descended into heaven. Do you know what? He was surrounded by Jews. I am not, do not let these people, because this is the thing. Look, I got to be careful here because they will sick bigger guns on someone like me. But the idea to caricature people, look, either you agree with this or you're one of them. No, I'm not. And I don't agree with you. And I don't agree with the indiscriminate killing of innocent civilians. Sorry, that's not just. It's not a just war, and that's where I stand. And that's where you should stand. I'm sure most of you do. At any event, Johnson is with them. This creep is another one of them. Trump is with him. That reminds me. I knew I had a big story. I forgot all about it. Let me read something to you from Truth Social Media. This is, let's see, I got to find it. Somebody sent it to me after his program yesterday. I have so many groups going here. It's from Trump, and it's about Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know what? I don't know where it is. I guess I'm just going to have to paraphrase. You know, this happens to me all the time because I have 1,700,000 billion things going at the same time, and I can never keep all of them straight. Maybe it was here. No, not there. Trump basically said this, that he loves Marjorie Taylor Greene, but that this is not the time to continue trying to replace the speaker, is basically what he said. And that Speaker Johnson was bringing unity to the party. I'm like, who is making these decisions? Who is telling him to write things like this? Because I'm looking at this going like, no, dude, that's just not correct. Did you actually? So he threw Marjorie Taylor Greene under the bus. Oh, you found it? Maggie, the greatest producer in all of radio, found it for me because I know it's out there somewhere. Here it is. Thank God. All right. Here it is. I absolutely love Marjorie Taylor Greene. Jonathan's, and send it to me. Thank you, Jonathan. Maggie found it too at the same time. Forgive me for being unprepared. Can you flash it up on the screen? Can you show everyone? Okay. I absolutely love Marjorie. I really love her. She's a beautiful woman. She's a beautiful person. She really is. This is the Crusade Radio Network. She's a beautiful person. She really is. I absolutely love. I love her. I really do. It's love. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's got spirit. She's got fight. She's a great American. She's great for our country. And I believe she'll be around, he said. I'll drop the Trump accent. And on our side for a long time to come. However, right now, Republicans have to be fighting the radical left Democrats and all the damage they have done to our country. Okay? With a majority of 1 shortly growing to 3 or 4, we're not in a position of voting on a motion to vacate. At some point, we may very well be, but this is not the time. We are leading the presidential polls by a lot. By the way, he is, in the national polls, it's double digits now. People are so done with Joseph Robinette Biden. We're leading all the presidential polls by a lot, both nationally and in the swing states. Likewise, we are doing well in the Senate. And I believe we will do well in the House, led by this cast of Keystone cops. Come on, man. It will negatively affect everything. But if we show disunity, which will be portrayed as chaos, it will negatively affect everything. Mike Johnson is a good man who is trying very hard. Is that a, oh, bless his heart moment? Maggie? Give us a Maggie minute. Is that a bless his heart moment? I mean, I think that is.
It kind of sounds like it.
Oh, bless his heart. He's such a good, he's trying to do the right thing.
He's trying real hard.
Mike Johnson, he's a good man. He's good for our country. No, I can't say that. Who wrote this line? I can't say he's good for our country. I can't. That's like saying Stormy's good for. Can I? Okay, I'm going to change it.
Well, maybe you could also look at it, too, that Donald Trump is saying, yeah, I can push this little dude around any way I want. Let's keep him in. Let's keep him in power. That way, when I get back to the White House, he my boy.
Yeah, I tend to not agree with that, but maybe. Mike Johnson is a good man who's trying very hard. Yeah, that's definitely a slap. I also wish certain things were done over the last period of 2 months, but we will get them done together. Together, it is my request that Republicans vote for the motion to table. We will win big, and it will be soon. Now, maybe this is shrewd politicking. Maybe it is Trump trying to say that, okay, it's my party. I'm the leader. I'm going to lead. We must have unity. We can't have chaos. Our enemies will use the chaos against us. I will say this about this, as much as I like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I do like her, principally speaking, her and Thomas Massie and Matt Gaetz and others are, on principle, they are correct. Johnson is a cancer. He's anathema. Welcome back to the Crusade Radio Network and the Mike Church Show. He's a cancer. But he is at the dance currently. Now, I don't know what placating this guy, because I don't believe that it's ego that's at play here. I think, number one, he's compromised. Number two, he's definitely compromised in his thinking, which is why I brought up the understanding, the Christian understanding of the word. The password is Israel. The term, let's just say Mediterranean Orientals, shall we? But I think this is who the guy is. We will win big, and it will be soon. 40,000 people liked it. Play Hakeem Jeffries. Here. You want to hear how he's been played? All you got to do is listen to this. Because this is the guy that's actually running the House of Representatives. That's Democrat and Nazi Weinbach's Nancy understudy stooge, Hakeem Jeffries. He's basically going to go out there and he's going to say, yeah, we're in control. Deal with it.
The only thing we ask of our House Republican colleagues is for traditional Republicans to further isolate the extreme MAGA Republican wing of the GOP, which has visited nothing but chaos and dysfunction on the American people. We're just interested in making sure that the House of Representatives can continue to work in a bipartisan manner,
Run!
isolate the
Caroline,
performance
run!
artists, the pro-Putin wing of the Republican Party, and the MAGA extremists, so we can get things done for the American people, for hardworking taxpayers, and for the constituents that we are all privileged to represent in the People's House.
Every buzzword, every cliche, every bumper sticker that you could possibly want is contained in that, what is that, 56 seconds. Not bad. We work for taxpayers. I'm one of those. You don't work for me. We got these extreme MAGA Republicans. You know, it's maybe we should have a history lesson one day. Let's do it today. What is MAGA? Have people forgotten what MAGA, or MAGA, or however you wish to pronounce it, what does MAGA actually stand for? Make America Great Again. It doesn't say make America bigoted again. It doesn't say make America evil again. It doesn't say make America divorced again. Doesn't say make America abort again. It says whatever you wish to think about what is great, or whether the United States ever was the greatest country in the history of the world. It says make America great again. What is extreme about that? I would think someone that opposes that is the extremist. Someone that says, no, we don't want to make America great again. We want to make America suck always. Let's go with Massa. Make America suck always. What a great campaign slogan that is. Why don't you run on that one, Hakeem? But then again, it is always the isolate, identify. This is Saul Alinsky. Isolate, and then demonize. Because you can't, a thing, an entity, a community, can't speak for itself. Only individuals can speak, and you just denounce them. As they come up, now you just knock them down off the chessboard, or the Stratigo board, or the Rich board, or whatever it is. Get rid of them. Here, we're going to go with this. Make America suck again. So I'm going to, go ahead and sort of like disagree with you there, Hakeem. And I think that there's not enough extremism out there. As a matter of fact, I think that if people are looking at the situation as they should be and looking at it properly, we don't have a justice system anymore. We have a conviction system. As I was explaining yesterday, I was fighting some tech support and technical demons yesterday, so I wasn't on my 100% A game. I'm on it today, I think. Let me just explain. The federale is controlling. Let's just let's pull I'm going to do a magging. I'm going to round up. We're going to say 40% of GDP. 40%. And if it's going to stay there, or is it going up? No, it's going up. Okay. If they are responsible for 40% of what we call gross domestic product, which again is the worst, most stupid, idiotic, imbecilic way to measure human flourishing ever invented by man. I'm not signing off on it. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not an anarcho-capitalist. Well, maybe a little bit. But I think that the GDP is just stupid. But I'm going to use it. If you're siphoning 40% of the productivity off, okay, well, you're right there at the beginning. You're down 40% of your productivity. That means you have 40% of your population, at least 40% that is participating in things that are not productive. They are destructive by design, by definition. And if that must continue to be funded, and it also is continuing to grow, well, then this thing called inflation, because they are the source of the inflation. Does everyone understand this? That creature perched on the banks of the Potomac River, Mordor on the Potomac, is responsible for this. The inflation monster cannot be put back in the bag. The Fed can't do it. It doesn't have the tool. The only system, the only fix or solve to that And I don't believe that President Trump is going to do it. I don't think it's even on the radar. It should be, but maybe it is, and I just don't know about it. Maybe it'll surprise all of us. You have to kneecap the monster. And if you're not going to kneecap the monster, then we ought to get about the business of rethinking the American Union for the 21st century and secede. Yes, we should do that. But understand, as long as they keep spending more, they're not retracting the dollars that they've already injected into the system. Instead, they're injecting more. This is why a dozen eggs cost $9 yesterday. This is all the things you're seeing. There is no fix. There is no cure for that unless you withdraw and start to haircut, as they used to say back in the day, the source. I don't see that happen. That's not going to happen. It is a free phone Friday here. 844-527-8723 is the call-in line telephone number. Mike Church Show here on a Crusade Radio Network. We'll be right back. In the beginning, there was beer, and man saw that beer was good. And man said, wouldn't 6 of these packaged together be even better? Then man created the six-pack and saw that it was good. Next, man invented the cigar, and man saw that the cigar was good. And man said, let's pack them up in boxes of 25. Then man... 25? What was wrong with 6?
Announcing an idea whose time has come. MB Fuma Off the Boat Cigars. Now in 6-pack and 4-pack samplers. Right alongside Manchupi and Maria's cigars in singles and 4-pack samplers. On sale now at shopmikechurch.com. That's shopmikechurch.com. And this is supposed to be a 60-second tight spot. So one more time, shopmikechurch.com.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-290-6705. 800-290-6705. That's 800-290-6705.
Do you hear that, Maggie?
Do I hear what?
You don't hear the sound of bees buzzing about?
No, I see the result of that buzzing about and these beautiful new beeswax candles.
We sell candles now?
Not just any candles. These are handmade beeswax candles.
Well, that explains me imagining bees.
And they come in different sizes. There's a votive, a 3-day, and a 7-day size too.
Well, that should start a buzz in the store.
It better, or you'll get the buzz.
Order handmade beeswax candles today while supplies last at shop.mikechurch.com.
You're listening to the Crusade Channel, a Black Hat Studios media property, broadcasting live 24/7 from Madisonville, Louisiana, and to the world via crusadechannel.com. The Crusade Channel, your news, talk, and parrot talk station. Mike Parrot Talks gets very fired up and even teaches from the middle of America, middays, 11 a.m. noon Eastern on crusadechannel.com.
Hi, I'm Magdalene Rose with today's Crusade Radio Network campaign report for Friday, May 17, 2024. Here's what's happening today. The U.S. Justice Department on Thursday informed House Republicans that Joe Biden has formally asserted executive privilege over the audio of his interview with special counsel Robert Hur, who investigated Joe Biden's handling of classified documents. Former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki is not confident that the debates between Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump will actually go forward. "I'm still a skeptic a little bit," she said in an interview on Wednesday on Pod Save America. She said, "Trump could certainly say I never agreed to those terms in the letter, and he probably will. That's how this all falls apart." Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s running mate Nicole Shanahan is making an $8 million cash infusion into their independent bid for the White House. Joe Biden wishes Kamala Harris could make an $8 million infusion into their bid for the White House. For more details and the links to these stories and more, head to crusadechannel.com/news.
Did you know it took centuries to develop the Hail Mary prayer? First, the monastics began adding Hail Mary.
Hey, can you hear me?
The Lord is with you to the end of their...
Mike. Hello?
Hail Mary was complete and took the place of the 150 Our Fathers many prayed daily. Today, the work of art that is the Rosary is cherished by millions, and there is no finer maker of this art than Maggie O'Connell's Little Bayou Rosary. Find her rosary creations today at shop.mikechurch.com.
Attention Coffee Police Academy students. We will now call the roll. CPA candidate Jones. Present. Joe Arabica Friday.
Present.
Tommy.
Oh, I'm here, sir. I just can't seem to keep my eyes open since I started drinking this Barrett Bargain Basement Stale Bean Water.
And just why are you violating CPA coffee code SPW1AM?
Well, that's easy. So I can save up money to get into the Coffee Cop Academy.
Son, breaking CPA rules so you can get into CPA is no way to become a coffee cop. Now, I'm afraid we're going to have to...
Uh-oh. Sounds like Lou has found the academy, and he's on his second cup of Abbey Roast.
What does he want?
He wants to know why the CPA didn't recognize his Rougarou nouns.
Rougarou nouns? And I'm the one that rejected his application.
Will Lou the Rougarou have his revenge and grind the coffee cop into espresso? Stay tuned to this station for our next episode. And in the meantime, order Abbey Roast Coffee at shop.mikechurch.com.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Magdalene Rose at the Crusade Radio Network News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Friday, May 17th, 2024. Cooking with the King Dude Meat Rubs. Try a bag of beast and butt rub for pork and Academia steak rub and seasoning. A taste of Louisiana for American beef. Our rubs feature competition quality with home-cooked convenience and are created by Mike Church. Available at mikechurch.com/rubs. In the market report, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed slightly lower on Thursday after briefly jumping above 40,000 for the first time. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, which also notched intraday highs, respectively slid 0.21% and 0.26%. In National Calendar Day news, today is National Cherry Cobbler Day and National Walnut Day. Our quote of the day: "The Holy Spirit leads us like a mother. He leads his child by the hand, as a sighted person leads a blind person." St. John Vianney. Our saint of the day is St. Pascal Baylon. Between the ages of 7 and 24, he worked as a shepherd and began a life of mortification. He was able to pray on the job and was especially attentive to the church bell, which rang at the elevation during Mass. In 1564, Pascal joined the Friars Minor and gave himself wholeheartedly to a life of penance. He developed a reputation for great generosity. He spent his spare moments praying before the Blessed Sacrament. You're listening to Crusade Radio Network News.
Attention coffee lovers! The Founders Trading Post has done it again! We've actually increased our selection of America's best gourmet coffees. Try the new Guatemala Le Eterna roast from Twin Pikes Roastery. Order today and take advantage of flat rate shipping at shop.mychurch.com.
This is Fiorella Nash, and I have a secret for our American listeners. The Founders Trading Post store is home to one of the largest collections of G.K. Chesterton books of any bookstore. From Orthodoxy to What's Wrong with the World, we are your Chesterton Superstore. You can easily shop all our G.K. Chesterton titles at shop.mikechurch.com, and trust me, your intellect and country will thank you.
Spring
spring is in full bloom. Hi, I'm Barbara Dooley, and I invite you to spring forward by upgrading to a new Kia from my friends at Bulldog Kia. I drive a new Kia Telluride from Bulldog Kia, and I absolutely adore it. It's spacious, comfortable, and has great safety features. And this month only, you can get an additional $750 off through the Kia Owner Loyalty Program. You can get a great new Kia for a great price at Bulldog Kia in Athens on the Atlanta Highway. Don't forget, all new Kias also come with the industry-leading 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Check them out online at bulldogkia.com or give them a call at 855-BULLDOG.
But this is the season for commencement addresses. And commencement addresses are, I think, a time-honored tradition in the good old USSA, whereby we invite famous or notable people to say controversial and, if not spicy, things. And sometimes those things need to be said, and it's an opportunity to you got a captive audience. The theme is, preparing the next generation to not repeat the mistakes that the prior generation has made. There are very famous commencement addresses. Remember the commencement address? Thing on record. He stood up and he said, "Never, never, 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 never give up." And he sat down. It was a powerful moment. In the United States, we have had Russian dissidents during the Cold War give commencement addresses, and those addresses have warned us that we too are headed towards the same cultural Marxist hellholes from which the dissidents had barely escaped with their lives in some cases. And these types of commencement addresses used to be given at places like Harvard, Yale, Duke, Stanford, Penn. Well, at a tiny little Catholic college in the middle of nowhere, Atchison, Kansas, Benedictine college, known to be somewhat conservative, somewhat orthodox, Benedictine college is now famous the world over. My loving wife supports me. And that has sent people like Whoopi Goldberg into an absolute tizzy. But there was another commencement address, and I talked about this on my program earlier this week, and it was the Jerry Seinfeld commencement address, which I found to be hilarious and somewhat insightful. Jerry Seinfeld was giving the address at Duke University, and the only headline that you got from that was that students were walking out of Duke. They were like, I don't want to hear this guy. I'm out of here. Don't want to hear anything that Seinfeld has to say. All right. Well, there's that, I guess. But would you know, so Jerry Seinfeld co-founded and co-wrote the hit 90s TV series Seinfeld with a guy named Larry David. Larry David is equally a New York City Jewish liberal who shared which he takes very seriously. Larry David recently had his ancestry analyzed. And well, here's the surprise.
This is just such an odd combination on my father's side of the Germany and the South. Yeah. Two places that we have fought against as a country. Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. I hope no slaves show up on this.
Please turn the page.
Turn the page, Larry.
Now, Larry, this is another part of the 18th.
Oh, you did it. You did it. I knew it. I knew it. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Boy.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, boy. Name of the slave owner, Henry Bernstein. My great-grandfather was a slave owner. Slaves, one female, age 4, mulatto, one female, age 17, mulatto. Oh. Tell me anything about his family.
I can't even believe that Larry David is the descendant of a slave owner, and if not a slave trader. It shocks me that a man named Larry Bernstein, who would be his great-grandfather, was in the slave business. You know, we are told that we are supposed to be ashamed of our identities. We are told that we have to forsake our whiteness, our toxic masculinity. This sort of ties into the Butker speech. He was like, hey, guys, you need to man up. And hey, ladies, you need to woman up. And you both need to do what you got to do in a traditional way. And this is sending people, I don't know, through the roof. You've already heard the speech, I'm sure. And if you haven't, you can hear it on your own time. And I know that you've heard a lot of analysis about it, but I'm here to tell you, and I'm going to reveal this for the first time on the Crusade Radio Network, because this is live talk radio the way it should be. I'm actually a personal friend of Buck here. And the place where he does read a speech. In fact, he's the and I can tell you that he's the real deal. He is a man's man. He is a good man. He's a young man, and he's an idealist. I don't think he's somebody who took the stage earlier this week, last weekend, thinking that he was going to score some points against the liberals, thinking that he was going to dunk on anybody or sweeten his coffee with liberal tears. I think he thought what he was presenting was pretty milquetoast and just a vanilla defense of traditional Catholic beliefs. He's being roasted right now for doing just that. Now, it would be one thing if player number 7 from the Kansas City Chiefs, if he were to go out to, I don't know, some secular college, let's say Georgia Tech, and he were to give that speech at Georgia Tech, I would agree with you that it's probably not the most appropriate thing to do. It's not the right venue, not the right audience. He's speaking to a bunch of Catholics, Catholic college, graduation day. He's talking about Catholicism. I'm not sure what the uproar is really over. And I think most people see that. Folks who know me here in the heart of America, where I live, who know a thing or two about what's going on. You know, they asked me about the speech and stuff, and I didn't even listen to it until yesterday, to be honest. Because typically, whenever the media is telling you something, I know it's a lie. So if they said it was horrible and misogynistic and anti-LGBTQRS, then I just assumed that that's probably overblown. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that whatever it is that Harrison said that has really caused some upheaval and turned the NFL again, like big NFL. You know, the NFL that says that the NFL is gay. Remember when they came out with that commercial 2 years ago? It was the NFL logo, and it turned into a rainbow logo, and it said the NFL is gay. Well, that's their value system, I guess. So the NFL has now turned on butt kicker. But I'm pleased to report today, this morning, that the number one selling for the United States of America, USA, every is butt kicker number 7, Kansas City Chiefs. I don't even own a single NFL jersey. I don't really watch sports ball. I don't really participate in it. It's not my thing. I think that the energy that people put into watching some of these things can be better placed elsewhere. Like, I don't know, in worship of Almighty God, or even some kind of entrepreneurial venture. I mean, something productive. But I may actually contribute to this statistic. I may purchase today my first NFL jersey ever, and it will be number 7. My good friend Harrison Buttkicker. Pray for him as the attack machine, the cancel culture goes after him and his family, and his friends and family in Georgia. Hello out there, 1010 The King, WXKG. Good to be with you again. My name's Mike Parrott, and I host a show here at 10 Central on the Crusade Radio Network. You can go to crusadechannel.com and hear all of us. A lot of talent here, and we are doing live radio streaming on the internet, crusadechannel.com/go. We're also on YouTube right now. You can go to crusadechannel.com/YouTube, and you can subscribe and check us out because we are a talented bunch. Present company excluded, of course. Happy to be with you this morning. All right, let's go to our next story. You know, you all have heard these groomer videos. I call them groomer vids. And for those that don't know, I am the fascist king of Milstonia. Milstonia is a mythical place that I have founded in my mind and may found someday later on. Sometimes you just need a good old-fashioned strong man. And, like a Franco. A Franco would not be putting up with any of this transgender, this groomer stuff. And I'm not putting up with it either here in Milstonia. So for those that don't know, I just needed to catch you up because you're going to hear one of the theme songs. I talk about it quite a bit, and I've been predicting this for years on my YouTube channel and elsewhere, that the frontier against reality, this war on reality, continues to shift more towards the children. This is why they have Drag Queen Story Hour. This is why they have groomers in classrooms, and they are celebrating their victory in converting all the school children in the public schools, in the good old USSA, public schools, public education, towards groomerism, towards radical transgender ideology. And this is something that needs to be stopped and needs to be called out. But this is not even their last frontier. I mean, we all know that global homo and the trading of humans, human trafficking, including children, is happening. You saw the movie. You saw Caviezel. You know about global trafficking trade. You got it. Aaron Rodgers knows about it. Speaking of football players who have been recently canceled, Aaron Rodgers was on Tucker Carlson, and he manifestly said, I don't think Epstein killed himself, and I wonder how many more Epsteins are. I've got the audio. Here it is.
Would you be shocked to learn that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself?
No. I mean, how many Jeffrey Epstein type people are out there?
Well, that's right.
That's the real question.
You mean people who've been killed, or people who are using sex as a blackmail tool?
That.
Yep.
And then who's pulling the strings on that?
Any guesses?
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell has a lot of ties to the Mossad.
Yep.
That would make sense. I mean, Jeffrey didn't seem to get some of the appointments he was given in prominence based on merit. Somebody was putting him in the right spots.
Someone was putting Jeff Epstein into the right spots, and Ghislaine Maxwell had ties to the Mossad. What's the Mossad, you say? Well, if you don't know, Mossad is the Central Intelligence Agency of the State of Israel. Israeli intelligence function. And Mossad is active in the United States of America, very active in the good old USSA. Our greatest ally in the Middle East, they say. Our greatest ally, constantly using the powers of statecraft, the secret powers of statecraft and spying to elevate certain people. She has ties to Mossad. They're using sex with children as blackmail, and Aaron Rodgers on Tucker Carlson is calling it out. Now, it's not like Harrison Buttkicker went before the students at Benedictine College and talked about any of this. He didn't talk about the global human sex trafficking, the global homo. He didn't talk about drag queen story hour and the overt attempt to pervert children. He just merely said, I appreciate the fact that my wife helps me in ways that only a wife can help. She raises the children. She runs supports me in my business and sport interests. And because of that relationship that we have, that's why we can do what we do, and that's why I'm standing on this stage today. That's what he said. Now, he exhorted church leadership as well, and I think many of you can identify with this, Catholic or non-Catholic. Many people's church leadership is lacking. It's wanting. Many people's church leadership, unfortunately, leaves much to be desired. And that's a big problem. That's a huge problem that I think a lot of people deal with. I want to give a quick shout out to 1010 The King, WXKG. Awesome to be with you guys this morning. And I look forward to you hanging out for the whole broadcast here today. All right, let's move to, well, I was going to play this video for you. Our friends in Atlanta are on a quick commercial break right now. When they come back, when they return, I want to play this video for everybody because I think it's really important. So let me give you this overview. The overview statement is as follows. We are living through a 700-year war. That's right. We are in the 700th year of a war, of a conflict. And it's a desperate conflict, ladies and gentlemen. And there can be no doubt about it. What kind of war, you say? Well, it's not the War of the Reconquista, because that was a 700-year war as well, that the Spaniards fought against the Moors. And the Moors were invading the Iberian Peninsula. And the Moors had taken over every single part of Spain and Portugal except a little mountain village called Asturias. And Don Pelayo is, he is the founder of Spain. He mounted a defense against the Moors. And his defense against the Moors was a 700-year struggle, which culminated with Queen Isabella of 1492. That was a big year. In 1492, Queen Isabella reunited all of Spain. She was officially the Catholic monarch of Spain. She kicked all the agitators and all these subversives out of Spain and sent Christopher Columbus on a glorious and holy mission to found the New World and to convert and set up missions to bring Christianity to the New World, which he did. Today, liberals attack Christopher Columbus. They have no love for him. Today, the liberals want nothing to do with Christopher Columbus. Now, the 700-year war that we are engaged in is similar and dissimilar. It's similar because it's taken forever. It's a long struggle. It's multi-generational. It's passed down from father to son. It's getting worse and worse and worse. It's dissimilar because we're not fighting over land per se. We're not fighting over geography per se. Now, there is land involved. There's territory involved in this 700-year war that we are engaged in. But we are fighting a war against those who hate reality. The enemies of reality have been engaged in a war against reality for the last 7 centuries. Well, what does this mean? They want you to disbelieve everything that you know. They want you to disbelieve everything that you've been taught. They want you to doubt your own senses. They want you to disbelieve your lion eyes. This is why somebody on CNN can stand in front of a burning building in the Summer of Rage in 2020 and say, these are mostly peaceful protests. The only way you can get away with saying that these are mostly peaceful protests while also showing the looting, the violence, the burning buildings in the background is if you have in your mind the stated goal of the destruction of the link between people's senses and their minds. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is part of it. That's what I'm talking about. We have a war against reality. The only way to implement communism is to break the links to reality. You got to break them down. What are our links to reality? Well, our links to reality are our family, our culture, our nation, our people, our neighborhoods, our history, our identity. You have to sever all of those links systematically, which they've been doing, in order to implement communism. It is only when a people don't know who they are, have no identity, and are ashamed of themselves that they will accept the absurdity called Marxism. Marxism is one of those things that's so too absurd for anyone to actually come up with and accept, except through violence, which was the Stalinist version of Marxism, or through self-shame and desperation, which is the American cultural Marxist. We call it the color revolution, which is happening in all of our major institutions, in academia, and in big media, and in the news broadcasts, and on Wall Street. All the cultural influencers are more or less cultural Marxists. And so they have to make us ashamed of who we are. They have to make us forget who we are. And they have to convince us that we are really the purveyors. We're an evil nation. We're an evil people. And make us shameful of our identity. Now, it's hard for Americans. I get it. It's hard for Americans because we're a young nation. We're a young people. And we don't necessarily have a very strong cultural identity. Not like the 2,000-year civilizations from across the pond in the old world. When we come back, I'm going to tell you exactly who we're fighting in the 700-year struggle, what we can do about it, and what weapon systems are going to work. This is Mike Parrott filling in for the King Dude on the Crusade Radio Network and 1010 The King WXKG in Hotlanta. Thank you so much for listening. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Hey, it's Mike Church, and I know you're enjoying the Crusade Radio Network because you're hearing this spot. And I'm here to tell you that you can enjoy it in crystal clear stereo and without annoying messages like this one. Sign up for Crusade Radio Network Premium Listening, and plans begin at less than $5 a month. $5 to sign up. Go to crusadechannel.com/go. Once you're a premium subscriber, you can pull a Braveheart and shout, "Let my ears be free!" Treat your ears today at crusadechannel.com/go. Folks, I want to talk to you about investing in precious metals and Miles Franklin. Andy Schechtman and his father started Miles Franklin together with the belief that precious metals are wealth, not an investment. Now, you've heard Andy on the Mike Church Show. You know his knowledge and passion for precious metals is second to none. So call Miles Franklin today and tell him I sent you. 952-929-7006. Ask about precious metals storage and IRAs too. Call 952-929-7006.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-245-8178. 800-245-8178. That's 800-245-8178.
You don't have to wake up at midnight and 3 a.m. to live like a brother at an Abbey when you start your day with Abbey Roast Coffee. Now in 6 blends. Take advantage of flat rate shipping and shop for Abbey Roast today at shop.mikechurch.com. Do you hear that, Maggie?
Do I hear what?
You don't hear the sound of bees buzzing about?
No, I see the result of that buzzing about in these beautiful new beeswax candles.
We sell candles now?
Not just any candles. These are handmade beeswax candles.
Well, that explains me imagining bees.
And they come in different sizes. There's a votive, a 3-day, and a 7-day size too.
Well, that should start a buzz in the store.
It better, or you'll get the buzz.
Order handmade beeswax candles today while supplies last at shop.mikechurch.com. If you're on a quest to make the perfect steak, then you need the perfect steak seasoning for that. And my Acadiana steak seasoning is the perfect choice because unlike many off-the-shelf rubs, Acadiana is nearly salt-free, so you control the quantity of salt to your taste. For steaks, I like to use a healthy dose of very coarse grind kosher salt, and I heavily season both sides to make a blackened sear. Acadiana is also great on seafood and veggies too. Pick up a bag or 6 today at shop.mikechurch.com. Attention coffee lovers, our Capuchin Dark Roast is now in its 6th year as Crusade Channel listeners' favorite coffee. Grab a bag of whole bean or ground, fresh roasted goodness today and take advantage of flat rate shipping and shop for all our coffees at shop.mikechurch.com.
I really did. I was sleeping on my pillow. wake up refreshed after hanging out on your My Pillow all night. If your pillow doesn't collapse, doesn't go flat, it's not all sweaty. Because I went to mypillow.com/King Dude. I'm pretty sure Mike Lindell has given you 10% off, and he's also covering your shipping. There may even be better deals there if you go to mypillow.com/King Dude. You can also go to shop.mikechurch.com. He's got some books and coffee there. I like to drink the coffee too. So, hey, my whole morning ritual revolves around the Crusade Radio Network. All right. Well, we were talking in the last segment, and I really want to get to this because for those of you that don't know who I am the fascist dictator of Milstonia. I am the Christian nationalist fascist dictator of a place called Milstonia, and in Milstonia, we know how to deal with perverts. We do. We deal with them in precisely the way that our Lord prescribed it. It involves millstones. Now, millstone production is one of the national things that will be high priority. I'm not saying Your father may have been a banker, but you are going to be a technology entrepreneur. Your father may have been an accountant, but you are going to be a lawyer, or whatever the case is. This is the atomization of society. It is the reduction of the family unit. It is the dissolution of it, and the exaltation of the individual. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was part of the war on reality, but that was so 18th century. Today, you now have to be liberated from your own identity. That's right. You have to be liberated from your own gender. You have to be free of any collective identity whatsoever. You have to be free of the fact that you are either a boy or a girl. You have to be free from biological certainty of chromosomal makeup. Ladies and gentlemen, that requires a certain level of disconnect from the mind to reality. St. Thomas Aquinas, St. Augustine, and all the great philosophers, scholars, and theologians of the West agree that we experience reality with our five senses. We have to believe our eyes and our noses and our ears. If we see something, we know it happened. This is why CNN will proudly stand in front of you and say this is a mostly peaceful protest, even while the burning buildings are being consumed by the inferno of rage from the summer of rage in 2020. They're trying to disconnect the link between your mind and your senses. Now, many of you have heard or seen on TikTok. I don't know if you follow Libs of TikTok. That's where I get my videos from. Many have heard on TikTok these boomers, they're teachers, and they are so emotional, and they are constantly pinning their emotional state and their status to the adulation and acceptance of 5-year-olds. Now, that would be normally considered to be a very pathetic and disturbing behavior in any well-ordered society, in any real society. But these people broadcast this to the internet, and usually what they're doing is they're crying because some 5-year-old misgendered them, and it hurt their feelings so much because even though they haven't shaved their Adam's apple off yet and they look like a man and they're balding, the 5-year-old should live in the fake reality that this man is actually a woman. And they're really upset in these videos, and I play them, I don't know, once a week on the Crusade Radio Network, because this is live talk radio the way it should be. Since I'm filling here, Mike Church, also broadcasting on 1010 The King, WXKG. I have to play you this video because it took a turn that I was not expecting. And why don't you listen to it, and then I'll tell you why I am so stunned by this particular groomer video.
If you want to know what it's like to be trans and work with children but not pass as the gender you identify with, let me tell you. I work with preschool age children, about 3 to 4 years old. I guess my boss sent out an email to like the staff and the parents of my room, letting them know that I'm trans and like what pronouns I identify with and stuff. My coworker is great. She has never misgendered me. And when I'm in different rooms, some of the kids will ask me like, are you a boy or a girl? Because my hair is kind of like a mid-length, but it's short enough that it applies to the kids' logic of like boys have short hair and girls have long hair kind of thing. On my first day in the room, one of the kids asked me how I'm a boy if I have this thing. And then she pointed at like her nose where my piercing is. I've actually had kids correct other kids saying that he's a boy. And they correct other kids. So I think at the same time as one of the kids, and she was talking about me to her mom, and she was like, yeah, like, no, but she doesn't, whatever, whatever. And then the mom was like, yeah, like he doesn't do whatever, whatever, and like kept talking. And I was like, that's just so nice. No one's made it like an issue. We're still like having these conversations, which is literally the sweetest thing ever. Like on one of my like first days, one of the parents dropped off her daughter and she asked me if her daughter had called me a girl the day before, because apparently I guess she had told her mom that. And I was like, no, they just call me my name because we're usually talking to each other. And she was like, I'm sorry if she called you a girl. We have a lot of books at home. And I was like, that's so nice. Like she didn't have to, but she did. I've just had such a great experience. And
Do you hear the joy, the adulation? Do you hear the sound of a conqueror? That is the tone of a woman who has conquered the people. That is the sound of a woman who is proclaiming victory. Victory over reality. She has prevailed. She has prevailed over reality, and the entire class has been conquered and subjected to the war against reality. Let me explain this. Normally in these videos, you hear some deranged person lamenting the fact that 5-year-olds can see stuff for what it is. Normally, you hear them complaining and crying in some cases because 5-year-olds believe their eyes and their ears and their noses, and they look at a person and they say, you're not a boy, you're a girl. And they're complaining about that because 5-year-olds instinctively understand that reality is what they see and touch and feel and hear and smell and taste. That's reality. The 5-year-olds hadn't yet been groomed to ignore reality. The 5-year-olds not yet been trained to disbelieve their own senses. Now, this deranged young woman who is teaching what, 3-year-olds? 3-year-olds? 4-year-olds? Preschool? This deranged preschool teacher who looks like a demon is celebrating her victory over reality, because it's not just the children that she has conquered, it's the children's parents that she has conquered. It's not just the children's parents she has conquered, it's the administration and her colleagues and the principal that she has conquered. Government schools have been subjected now to radical trans ideology. They are not putting up a fight, it's over. They've the trans warriors have won unequivocally. Usually in these videos, you have some disordered person who's crying because some parent called them their biological gender. That's what usually happens. But in this video, this is a celebratory, victorious video. This is a celebratory video in which the trans warrior is celebrating the fact that she has disassociated herself from objective reality. She rejects the fact that she has ovaries. She rejects the fact that she has a biological certainty, a biological identity. She rejects the fact, and welcome back 1010 the King, WXKG. This woman rejects the fact that she is a woman because she believes that an idea in her mind is reality and not the physical nature of things. So she's convinced now, this woman is, that it doesn't matter that she was born with certain chromosomes, that at a cellular level, you can tell she's a woman. It doesn't matter how her hips are formed. the various feminine organs that she possesses. It doesn't matter that she has the voice of a woman, the form of a woman, the shape of a woman, the appearance of a woman, the pheromones and the smell and the essence of a woman. This doesn't matter to her. What matters to her is the surreality, the fake reality that she invented in her mind. And in her mind, the idea that she is a man is more real than the physical reality. Do you see? That's the war on reality that they are trying to get at. This is why they tell you it's a mostly peaceful protest when it's not. This is why they tell you you're going to die from this virus when you're not. This is why they tell you that the Fauci face covering is going to work when it doesn't. They tell you lies on purpose, and they lie in the open, and they lie and they lie and they lie with the purpose of breaking down the link between your mind, your sense of reality, and what you hear and see and experience. That is why they do it. That's why they lie in the open. That's why it's okay for Biden to have classified documents and not okay for Trump to have classified documents. That's why it's perfectly okay for us to ship billions of dollars to the Iranians to try to stop them from getting the bomb. This is why they lie in person, they lie online, they lie on the news, they lie to your face, they lie under oath. This is why they lie about the election. They don't want you to experience reality they want you to live in the fake reality that they invent for themselves. And she has done this. She has invented a new personality, a new identity, and is compelling you. Now, if you're a student, a 5-year-old student, 4-year-old, 3-year-old student, a parent, fellow teacher, teacher's assistant, administration, principal, whatever, her entire orbit of people are now forced to live in a place where they disbelieve the biological certainty, the physiological certainty, the objective reality of a thing, and instead they just believe the idea cooked up, conjured up by this witch in her mind. And if you don't live in that fake reality with her, you're the one with the problem. But wait, there's more. Sorry, I have to drop red pills on you. In our final moments together, this is Mike Parrott, and I am the host of Parrott Talk on the Crusade Radio Network. Live talk radio, the way it should be. Encourage you to go to crusadechannel.com/go if you would like to hear my show, which broadcasts every day, 10 Central. I got one more red pill for you. This isn't even the final train stop. We're still traveling on this train. This war against reality is continuing. We have not reached the conclusion of it, the climax of it, just yet. Because there's still another identity, a cosmic identity, a collective identity, from which, according to classical liberalism, John Locke, the foundation of this country, according to which you still must be liberated. And the communists are rubbing their hands together. Can you hear my hands rubbing together? They are so excited about this one. They want you to be totally liberated from your own human identity. Yeah, that's right. Any collective identity is bad, right? So in order, they went from, well, you can't have a religious identity, so hence we had the Protestant Revolution. You can't identify with the Roman Catholic Church, the one church founded by Jesus Christ to govern all. Christ is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and they don't want that. So they defected from that in favor of denominationalism. And then they had to defect from empire because having a collective identity with an empire, with the Holy Roman Empire, let's say, was something that we had to unplug from. And then they wanted to make war against identifying with the state. So they went against the state, and in terms of now what's important is civil society. Civil society, all right, Jeffersonian. We have to rebel against the king. We have to rebel against the state, when now we have to form our own perfect civil society. And then that wasn't good enough, and they had to rebel against the family and tradition. And this is the boomer sexual revolution of the 1960s. They had to rebel against sexual norms. They had to rebel against morality. They had to rebel against all authority, including that of the fathers and the mothers. So they left the family, and now it's an individual. And as a result of that, we have divorce and abortion and contraception and all kinds of issues in the family. Then they had to rebel against natural order in favor of the rainbow flag. But the rainbow flag wasn't rainbow enough. And so we had to rebel even against the rainbow flag to include the perversion of children. And now we had to rebel against gender. But there's still one more cosmic collective identity from which, according to classical liberalism and according to communism, no daylight between those two things on this issue, we must be liberated. And that is human identity. Enter transhumanism. Have you seen the fuzzy people, the furries? Have you seen the videos of the mom where she tries to take her son to a veterinarian because he identifies as a puppy, and she's all up in arms because the veterinarian won't treat her son because he really is a puppy, and she just can't even believe that the vet wouldn't treat her son? Ladies and gentlemen, that's the next frontier, and we're going there. Mark my words. Transhumanism is the next and final stop. And once you are liberated from your human identity, you are just a brain. You are just a set of sensations, of electronic sensations happening in the organ of the brain. That's all you are. And that brain with electronic sensations can be dropped into any species or non-species, whatever it is. And finally, you will be free. Finally, the Jeffersonian project will have come to its climax. Finally, this will be the land of the free and the home of the brave, ladies and gentlemen, when you are dislodged and unmoored from that pesky identity that you have, which we call Homo sapien, human, a human person. Transhumanism is openly talked about, not only at TED Talks, but at the World Economic Forum. Transhumanism is the next frontier that they are seeking because, as I told you in the beginning, as soon as everybody rejects their identities, as soon as everybody rejects their history and rebels against nature, they are ready for the final frontier. They will be begging the government to take over their lives. They will be begging for cultural revolution, Marxism. This is a bloodless communist revolution. It is happening right now. We are living through it. And ladies and gentlemen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there ain't much we can do about it. This is my huge phone. An honor to be with you. And I am glad, ladies and gentlemen, that I could meet with you today here on the Crusade Radio Network. This is live talk radio the way it should be. Always on air, always online. Have a great day. God bless you. Take care now.
Crusade Channel News. News you can trust. Because the truth can be trusted. From the Crusade Channel News Desk,
Good morning, Crusaders. Welcome to Friday, May 17th, 2024. I'm Justin Redmond, reporting for the Crusade Radio Network News Desk, live from Tomahawk Studio in Mandeville, Louisiana. This report is brought to you by Cooking with the King Dude Meat Rubs. Try a bag of Beast and Butt Rub for pork and Acadiana steak rub and seasoning. A taste of Louisiana for American beef. Our rubs feature competition quality with home-cooked convenience.
All right, KV, you there?
I am. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Listen, I was listening and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I was feeling for you and Mike. So listen, we'll just give it a go for an hour. How about that?
Sounds good. That's all about what we got, about an hour.
Okay, listen, can you keep me right on just give me the timings again?
We will go at break at the 30-minute mark.
Could you drop this all in Skype? So 30 minutes...
Yeah, I'll drop it in Skype real quick.
Please, thank you.
All right.
And keep me right on the chat on Skype. And I've also got the other thing open, the one we use, the Signal. So message me there in terms of countdown if you want.
All right, and I think Mike's got some music already programmed in, so when we hear that play, we'll let it roll.
You let it roll, and just tell them all in the chat room to stay there and stay calm, and I'll be along in a second.
All right.
Cheer everybody up. All right, let's give it a go. Thank you, Justin.
You're welcome.
Director of the National Institutes of Health, who helped lead America's COVID-19 pandemic response, indicates that there was a lack of scientific evidence for the 6-foot social distancing rule that was a key fixture of COVID-19 restrictions. The committee investigating the COVID-19 response asked Collins if she ever saw science or data that led to the 6-foot social distancing rule. Collins said that she did not see any data that supported ever creating such a rule. This question was also asked to Dr. Fauci in January, and he said the social distancing rule just appeared. The remarks by Dr. Collins offer further indication that officials issuing guidelines at the height of the pandemic were, at least to some extent, making decisions that were not explicitly supported by scientific data. Various officials involved in crafting the U.S. pandemic response, including Dr. Fauci, have said that they were making good faith decisions based on the available data at the time, and that once new information emerged, they adjusted their recommendations accordingly.
You don't have to wake up at midnight and 3 a.m. to live like a brother at an Abbey when you start your day with Abbey Roast Coffee. Now in 6 blends. Take advantage of flat rate shipping and shop for Abbey Roast today at shop.mikechurch.com.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-245-8178. 800-245-8178. That's 800-245-8178.
Our saint of the day is Saint Pascal Balin. In his lifetime, the Spanish Empire in the New World was at the height of its power, though France and England were soon to reduce its influence. The 16th century has been called the Golden Age of the Church in Spain, for it gave birth to Ignatius of Loyola, Francis Xavier, Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross, Peter of Alcantara, Francis Solano, and Salvador of Horta. Pascal's Spanish parents were poor and pious. Between the ages of 7 and 24, he worked as a shepherd and began a life of mortification. He was able to pray on the job, was especially attentive to the church bell, which rang at the elevation during Mass. He once offered to pay owners of crops for any damage his animals caused. In 1564, he joined the Friars Minor and gave himself wholeheartedly to a life of penance. At various times, he served as porter, cook, gardener, and official beggar. He was careful to observe the vow of poverty. People flocked to his tomb immediately after his burial, and miracles were reported promptly. He was canonized in 1690, was named patron of Eucharistic congresses and societies in 1897. We might as well get ahead of crime by preparing to investigate murder in outer space. A crime scene specialist is probing the forensics behind how a murder could be investigated in outer space, something he says is inevitable in the coming years by way of a space tourism. Where humanity goes, so too will human behavior, said Detective Zach Kolowski, who works in CSI for the Roswell, Georgia Police Department, according to Fox News. So being able to understand how to best reconstruct those criminal acts is really important, he said. To prove the legitimate risk of this concept, he and fellow researchers studied how blood and blood stains present in a microgravity environment. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Radio Network, seeking news and finding truth.
The Crusade Channel, your news, talk, and midday show station. Fiorella De Maria lowers your blood pressure and chats with you over lunch. Lunch, talk, and chat radio is live, noon Eastern, on CrusadeChannel.com.
For the last time, I'm pretty sure what's killing the crops is this Brondo stuff.
The Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
So wait a minute. What you're saying is that you want us to put water on the crops?
Yes.
Water. Like out the toilet?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be out of the toilet, but yeah, that's the idea.
But Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolytes.
Okay, look, the plants aren't growing, so I'm pretty sure that the Brondo's not working. Now, I'm no botanist, but I do know that if you put water on plants, they grow.
Well, I've never seen no plants grow out of no toilet.
Hey, that's good. You sure you ain't the smartest guy in the world?
Okay, look, you want to solve this problem, I want to get my pardon, so why don't we just try it, okay? And not worry about what plants crave.
Brondo's got what plants crave. Yeah, it's got electrolytes.
What are electrolytes? Do you even know?
It's what they use to make Brondo.
Yeah, but why did they use them to make Brondo?
Because Brondo's got electrolytes.
Well, hello and good morning, all you Crusaders out there. Listen, I've been listening to the parrot talk for the last hour, and I thought, wait a minute, this has got to stop. I don't know about you, my connection sounded like he was transmitting from planet Zog somewhere in the outer universe. Anyway, my name is Kevin Turley. I'm sitting in for the King Dude this morning just for an hour, just to cheer you all up. My fellow Crusaders, we are one here on this great radio network, Crusade Radio Network, the last live radio station broadcasting from outer space, or something like that. Buy a pillow while you're at it. Today I've got nothing planned, but that's the best sort of radio, isn't it? You are my co-host this morning, wherever you're listening. And the way to do that is to jump into the Crusader Stadium chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. You know the drill. There's 54 of you in there already. Good morning to each and every one of you from right across the United States. And indeed, I notice right across the world. It's great to have your company this morning. Got a question for you, question of the day, question that's on your mind. Did you know that 10 years ago a media phenomena was born? 10 years ago? And that was the phenomena of the True Crime Podcast. True Crime Podcast. Many of you will have listened to these. Some of you will have heard of them. Some of you will be aware that True Crime Podcasts have become the kind of gold standard for the podcast industry. Let me give you some facts before we go any further. It all kicked off with a spin-off from the podcast This American Life, which airs on NPR, National Public Radio. Now, This American Life, whatever you might think of some of the editorial slant of the content, is actually one of the best produced podcasts out there. It's very, very good. It's very well put together. It uses true stories, the way it sort of packs it all together. It's very, very professional, very slick, very well done, and is very good audio as podcasts go. Anyway, it had a spin-off which was called Serial. And Serial was about a murder which happened in 1999. And basically, Serial was reinvestigating, if you like, re-examining that murder and who was convicted and all the rest of it. Now, you might think, well, so what? Well, back in 2014, within 2 years, the podcast was getting, on average, 80 million downloads. That's right, 80 million downloads. To date, it's about 175 million downloads for that one podcast. So it's out there on its own, and it started a whole bonanza. You know what it's like in the world of media. When something's very successful, everybody follows the leader, right? It's like, if any of you are in farms, and I know some of you are, you know when the herd moves in a certain direction and the herd moves? Well, that's what it's like in the media world. You can just imagine across the United States and indeed across the world, podcast producers looking at Serial and getting on the phone and saying, get me another Serial, and I'm not talking Rice Krispies. They all wanted to do true crime. They all wanted to reinvestigate some sordid murder from the past. Now, you might think, well, what is Serial? For those of you who don't know, was it like a one-off? Was it like just one episode? No. It turned into 4 seasons. 41 episodes. 41 episodes investigating or reinvestigating this crime from 1999. I don't know about you, but something about the true crime genre leaves me a little bit queasy. Do you know what I mean? There's something about it I don't really get. So I was working in the world of podcast when this phenomena was happening. So of course, like everybody else, I was looking into it. And I remember looking into the actual murder that they had reinvestigated. And I went and I looked on a website and I saw the photograph of the victim, the young woman who had died, who'd been killed, been murdered. And I have to say, it stopped me in my tracks. I didn't really want to learn anything more about the police investigation, who was arrested, who was convicted, who should have been convicted, all the rest of it. I wasn't interested. Because I suddenly realized that this wasn't entertainment, but that somebody had actually been killed. And that another human being had murdered that young woman. Can you see where I'm going with this? We're not talking so much true crime as true mortal sin. Because many of you listening are Christians, and you will understand that all our actions have not just repercussions in this world, but in the world to come. And consequences for us as a result. But also, here's the thing. If any of you have ever been a victim of crime, do let me know in the chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat if you have. If you've been a victim of crime, and I certainly have, would you want that moment of vulnerability? That moment of pain to be entertainment for other people? To be downloaded 175 million times for the entertainment of others as they're out jogging, working out in the gym, driving in the car? I don't think so. I don't know about you, but that's not the sort of thing that I would want. And also think about it another way, that young woman who was murdered in 1999, she would have had parents, she would have had maybe brothers and sisters, I don't know, I didn't bother to look into it, I was so revolted by the whole thing. But here's the thing, isn't it even worse if it was one of your loved ones who was being exploited in this way? Just think about it for a moment. If you had a loved one who was murdered, or worse, or raped, or whatever, kidnapped, Would you really want that as part and parcel of somebody's audio entertainment? The reason I ask is because one of the things about this true crime genre, which is extremely popular, is that a lot of the families of the victims are starting to speak up now, saying, we have no input in this, and we're not even sure that it's something that we would like, something that we would want. They're human beings. They're grieving. The loss of a loved one, a daughter or a son, a mother or a father, you never get over it if it's in some sort of violent circumstances, right? The pain may ease, absolutely, but that sense of loss, and maybe that sense of anger against the perpetrators or against the system, whatever, that never goes away. And I just wonder if these true crime podcasts are actually making matters worse. You see, there's a kind of voyeurism about it, isn't there? What do you think? Tell me. Call the show, 844-527-8723. Call me and tell me. Call me and tell me that it is okay to spend 41 hours listening to the death or about the death of a young woman back in 1999. Or jump into the chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat and tell me that it was something that you enjoyed. You know, they spent 41 hours producing, or there's 41 hours of audio produced for that, which, let's be honest, that probably multiply that by about 10 at least for the production, you know, for the interviews, for the way it's all edited together, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of work put behind audio of that type. Music and various probably news items and things. I just wonder if there was more time spent on the podcast than there was spent investigating the murder in the first place. Which also speaks volumes about the sort of society we're living in. Does it not? Schaefer 13 in the chat room. Good morning to you, sir. If someone else is claiming profit on the loss of someone else like that, should they be sued? Well, that's a good question, and I don't know. CRM114, is KVT live? No, I'm dead. Talking about true crime podcast. Yes, I am live. I hope you're live too, and not a chatbot down there in the chat room. Come on, Crusaders, you must have views on this. You must have thought about this. Now, can I let you into some of the dirty little secrets about the True Crime podcast? Do you know that most of the listeners are women? That really surprised me in one sense when I first came across it. And if I were to ask you, what do you think the percentage of listenership is female? What would you say? Come on, throw some figures in the chat room. 5%, 10%. What do you think the gender split is here between men and women listening to the True Crime podcasts? What do you reckon it is? Vincent Pittsburgh, good morning to you, sir. No less than 75%. That's a pretty good call. Schiffer 13, very little is my guess. Birch Star, 99%. Schiffer 13, mostly males listening in. Kaiser, 80-20, women to men. Kaiser, you've been reading my notes. CRM 114, 85% ladies. You're getting there, CRM. You're getting there. You're getting there. The King Dude, it's Maggie, I think. I watch True Crime all the time, and KVT just turned me off them forever. Hold on. Hold that thought, Maggie. Don't do that. Anyway, listen. It's reckoned between 80 and 90% of the listeners of podcasts. I'm not talking about TV, by the way. I'm talking about podcasts. Are women. That's right, women. 80 to 90%. Now, What strikes me as odd, and maybe some of the women in the audience can start to enlighten me on this, is why would 80 to 90% of an audience be interested in something which is often about the perpetration of crimes against that segment of society? Most of the true crime podcasts that I've glanced at, etc., it's always a woman victim. I have to say that most of the fiction crime novels, which are a different genre, I know, but most of the crime fiction that I see in bookshops has a young woman dead, lying in a field or something on the cover. Something rather ghoulish. And yet it's all the young women that are buying these books. I used to work with a young woman who just literally ate these books up, morning, noon, and night. She would literally read, she was always traveling on the tubes, which is a great way of, here in London, of passing the time, reading a book. And she would read nothing but these crime novels with young women being murdered right, left, and center. Anyway, the other thing is that 41% of regular podcast listeners who listen to true crime are under 50 years of age. So what you've got here is a demographic of very young women who are the victims of so many of the crimes in true crime. But anyway, there's all sorts of cod psychology, and I'm not a psychologist, as King Dude would say. I play one on the radio, but I'm not a psychologist. But there's a lot of psychologists or faux psychologists out there who try to give reasons as to why women are so attracted to true crime podcasts. And they come up with all sorts of ideas, such as that women are more compassionate. Really? That's why they spend 41 hours listening to the police crime reports about a certain murder? I don't think so. The other reason, which may be more plausible, is that women are trying to work out a strategy by which they can survive true crime, real crime, a crime that is forever threatening them. That they're trying to work out the mindset of the criminals so they can avoid such situations. There may be something in that, but again, I'm not absolutely convinced. I was talking to a friend of mine the other night, and she's American, and she was telling me that she was talking about this. We got talking about true crime podcasts. She had no interest in them, but she used to have 2 or 3 friends that were obsessed with true crime podcasts. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, how did it make them feel? She came straight back. She said they were the most paranoid, frightened, jumpy, unhappy people that she knew. I just wonder if 41 hours worth of one killing, dwelling upon that, thinking about that, pondering it, working out the permutations of who did what when, and if only, if that's really a healthy way of behaving. But you tell me what you think. crusadechannel.com/chat. I hope I haven't put too many off. Maggie, why don't you call the show and tell us why you like these true crime podcasts or true crime documentaries. Let's widen it out a bit. Now, you see, the television's a bit different, okay? Now, I don't, as many of you know, I don't have a television, I don't watch television, but television is a little bit different. And here's why. Most of these documentaries about true crime last for 1 hour. Okay, they're not even. They're about 50 minutes with all the advertising and all the rest of it. And that's it. That's it, right? But there's something about podcasts which is more intimate and more immersive. Now, you don't need me to tell you, you're all radio listeners like me, you don't need me to tell you that radio is a so much more intimate genre, right, than television. It's also something much more immersive in a sense than television. Radio does paint the best pictures. I've said this many a times to you, and I think many of you agree. Because you're dealing with the imagination, your imagination, right? Not somebody else's imagination, which is plopped in front of you, take it or leave it, right? So your imagination is somehow caught up in this. And podcasts are very intimate. Most of the research around podcast listening says that it is done alone, right? Certainly in my case, that's true. Most podcast listening is done on a pair of headphones while walking, running, working out, doing the gardening, fixing the car, whatever. But it's alone. It's intimate. It sort of soaks up your mind and your thoughts in a way that television doesn't. And that's the thing. That's the thing which can be very, very good, or 41 hours of dwelling upon a murder. Again, with that sort of intimacy. Is that a healthy thing? 844-527-8723. Call in. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Alternatively, jump into the chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. Now, you know the station does not run on fresh air or government subsidies, so head over to Mike Church's Founders Trading Post, shop.mikechurch.com, where you can buy lots of very good stuff. Or you can buy lots of pillows. My Pillow. I don't have the blurb, but My Pillow are out there at the moment, and I'm sure you've got lots of good offers. Anyway, head over to the Founders Trading Post, and you can find out more. Kaiser says, my wife listens to those types of podcasts. You see, Kaiser? This is true. This is true. G Money, my wife enjoys these shows. I just go to the kitchen and grab another beer. I'm with you, G Money. I'm definitely with you. I think a beer is much better than that. But isn't it true that women, for some reason, are attracted to this? Is it something of the female mind? I'm trying to work it out. Now, I think we need to differentiate between true crime and podcasts, the sort of thing I'm talking around, and people who enjoy reading crime novels. I don't think it's quite the same thing. Because we know with novels, it's fantasy, right? Nobody gets hurt. Everybody gets out alive. Whereas we know with these true crime podcasts that somebody paid for this, often with their life. King Dude says, I would say the majority are definitely women. I'm agreeing with you. Alaconis, I am a crime junkie. Maybe he was watching Columbo as a kid. Well, Alaconis, is it that you're a crime junkie that you enjoy cop shows? I mean, Columbo was just amazing, right? I mean, Columbo was part of my childhood too. But there was Kojak, Starsky and Hutch. Do you remember all this? That was, but we all knew it was just total and utter fantasy, right? And you were as amused by the detectives as the so-called criminals. In fact, I can't really remember many of the crimes. I just remember the kind of idiosyncratic behavior of the various detectives, who were probably like nothing of the real-world detectives. I don't know if you've ever met any real-world detectives. They are not like those on the television. I can absolutely assure you of that. Vincent Pittsburgh says, the appeal of the mystery. Vincent Pittsburgh, I'm glad you said that. Because I think there is something of a mystery here. But I think it's a twofold mystery, and once we come back after the break, we'll talk about this. But I think there's two parts to this mystery. I think there's a mystery as to why people are attracted to the dark side. And there's another, which is, why are people not attracted to the real mystery that surrounds us all the time? Okay, listen, my name is Kevin Turley. I'm sitting in for the King Dude this morning, who is somewhere in North Carolina, is it? I can't remember. Anyway, he's somewhere on his travels this morning, and we wish him and Maggie Godspeed wherever they are. When we come back, we will be exploring this a little bit more, but also I want to talk to you about some other things. I want to talk to you about a very strange film, which is very interesting in this year of presidential elections, because it's all about a presidential assassination. And no, it's not the one you think. Okay, stay tuned to the Crusade Radio Network here on the Mike Church Show with me, your guest host, Kevin Turley. Back after these words.
Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Friday, May 17th, 2024. Cooking with the King Dude meat rubs. Try a bag of beast and butt rub for pork and Academia steak rub and seasoning. A taste of Louisiana for American beef. Our rubs feature competition quality with home-cooked convenience and are created by Mike Church. Available at mikechurch.com/rubs. In the market report, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed slightly lower on Thursday, after briefly jumping above 40,000 for the first time. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, which also notched intraday highs respectively, slid 0.21% and 0.26%. In National Calendar Day news, today is National Cherry Cobbler Day and National Walnut Day. Our quote of the day: the Holy Spirit leads us like a mother. He leads his child by the hand. As a sighted person leads a blind person. Saint John Vianney. Our saint of the day is Saint Pascal Baylon. Between the ages of 7 and 24, he worked as a shepherd and began a life of mortification. He was able to pray on the job and was especially attentive to the church bell, which rang at the elevation during Mass. In 1564, Pascal joined the Friars Minor and gave himself wholeheartedly to a life of penance. He developed a reputation for great generosity. He spent his spare moments praying before the Blessed Sacrament. You're listening to Crusade Radio Network News.
Did you know it took centuries to develop the Hail Mary prayer? First, the monastics began adding, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you, to the end of their psalm readings. Later, Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus, was added. And by the 15th century, the Hail Mary was complete and took the place of the 150 Our Fathers many prayed daily. Today, the work of art that is the Rosary is cherished by millions, and there is no finer maker of this art than Maggie O'Connell's Little Bayou Rosary. Find her rosary creations today at shop.mikechurch.com.
Hi, it's Mike Church.
And I'm Mike Parrott.
Almost every American schoolchild can tell you what 3 rights are in the Declaration of Independence. But among these are
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But their civics knowledge ends there, and that's a problem. That's why I'm proud to have participated in one effort that I hope addresses this issue, the Covington Compact.
That's right, Mike. You can see the compact at crusadechannel.com/compact.
Strike a blow for New Christendom. Read, sign, and distribute the Covington Compact today at crusadechannel.com/compact.
If you're on a quest to make the perfect steak, then you need the perfect steak seasoning for that. And my Acadiana steak seasoning is the perfect choice because unlike many off-the-shelf rubs, Acadiana is nearly salt-free, so you control the quantity of salt to your taste. For steaks, I like to use a healthy dose of very coarse grind kosher salt, and I heavily season both sides to make a blackened sear. Acadiana is also great on seafood and veggies too. Pick up a bag or 6 today at shop.mike.
Hello and good morning. Good morning to the Crusade Radio Network, here to the Mike Church Show with me, your guest host, Kevin Turley, sitting in for the King Dude for the next few minutes at least. This really is the final countdown, you know that? Before we blast it off to wherever we're blasted off to. You know, I don't really get this obsession. I just heard on the news there, this obsession with the moon. You know, they talked about doing crime, something analysis on the moon. Have you heard that NASA wants the moon to have a time zone, like the way you have your Central Time, Pacific Time, Mountain Time? They want to have a moon time. Did you know this? My question is, for who? Who's it for? Is there something I missed? Did the aliens land and go back to the moon? I don't know. What's going on there? Why do we need a moon time? Tell me. Jump into the Crusader Stadium chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. Or give me a ring on 844-527-8723. And a very good morning if you're listening on WXKG 1010 AM, The King in Atlanta, Georgia. Good morning to you all. Welcome to the wonderful world that is the Crusade Radio Network. Okay, so we're talking true crime, we're talking true crime podcasts in particular as the 10th anniversary of Serial, and we're wondering if it's a healthy obsession that people have got into. I really wonder myself sometimes. Some really quite amusing comments in the chat room. Good morning, Ashley, to you. Ashley seems to be married to one of the few men that listens to true crime podcasts. Ashley says he loves them. Get him to call in, Ashley. I'd like to speak to him. One of our number has said that, I'm not going to embarrass him on air, but he says that maybe his wife is listening to all these true crime podcasts because she's taking notes. Oh dear. No comment. Anyway, true crime, what do you make of it? Is it worth the effort? I think on balance, somebody, I think it was Vince, was saying that maybe true crime is sort of looking for a mystery. Or people are interested in mystery, and that's the reason why people read crime books as well, right? That's why people tend to gravitate towards those things, because they're intrigued by the mystery. You know, it's why we like conspiracy theories, okay? I mentioned the moon. Next step, conspiracy theories. It's because we like the idea of a mystery. We like the idea of getting in on the inside, right? I wonder if there's a theory here. If 90% of women are into true crime podcasts, would you say that 90% of men, or roughly that gender imbalance, are interested in conspiracy theories? Because I have not met many women who are interested in conspiracy theories, but I've met lots of men who love a good conspiracy theory. I don't think it'd be 90-10, but I think it would be skewed a bit more towards men. What do you think? King Dude's just informed us he is in Charlotte, North Carolina today. So good morning to you, King Dude and Maggie. Hope your travels went well wherever you are in North Carolina. That is fantastic. So back to true crime podcasts. There's a slightly dark side to all of this. Okay, so we're talking about crime and whether it should be entertainment. You know, you're not talking about Agatha Christie here or Sherlock Holmes or something. You're talking about real people with real families who have had bereavements. And somehow this has turned into mass media entertainment. Leaves me feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And as a Catholic, of course, I'm a little bit uncomfortable that we're often dealing with situations where people are committing, well, very violent acts, but often mortal sins, and they're damning their souls if they do not repent from these actions of murder, etc., etc. I may be one of the few people in the chat room this morning who's actually met and talked to murderers. I did it as part of a professional job I did for a number of years. And I had to go and interview them for various reports for court and all the rest of it. And the murderers stay in my mind for all the wrong reasons. I remember one murderer in particular. He was a young man. He was a young man when he killed another man in a sort of, it was a bad situation. And anyway, the young man was sentenced to life. So he was serving a life sentence, which in the UK means that he would do at least 40 plus years before he'd be even considered for parole. And if you went to prison in your early 20s, you know, most of your life is going to be spent in a prison cell. Now you might say, well, absolutely, and correct. I agree with you. You know, there's too much excuse made sometimes for criminal behavior. But having spoken to people in that situation where they are incarcerated for many, many decades, it tends to drive them mad, right? They tend to go absolutely crazy. But this young man, I remember talking to me about the murder, the night of the murder, and I could tell that, and he was able to tell me that this night that this incident happened, he kept replaying it in his mind every single day. It was almost like a video on repeat, or a film that just kept playing over and over and over again. You know, the moment before, the build-up before the actual murder, and then, you know. And you could see that he was locked up with this, but there was something else that he was locked up with, which was even more terrifying in a sense. And he said this to me. He said, there's not a moment goes by that the face of the person I killed, that last moment, is not before my eyes. You see, this is the other side of these true crime podcasts. By all means, they concentrate on the victims, often young women and all that. But there's also a perpetrator. And somebody who's living with the consequences of this. Now, I'm not excusing in any shape or form what people do. But people can do things out of passion, misadventure, or being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and with the wrong apparatus available, a knife or a gun or whatever, and something kicks off. Now, that situation means that you've got a victim forever, but you've also got somebody who's got that on their conscience forever. And if you do not believe in the idea of redemption, the Christian idea of redemption, then what have you got? What have you got if you don't have forgiveness? Just think about that for a moment. Most of you listening, I know, are probably good Christian people of one sort or another, and you believe, as I believe, that our sins are forgiven through the blood of the Lamb. But just imagine if you didn't believe that. Just imagine if you lived in a world where there was no such thing as forgiveness. You would never hear the words, the Latin words, if you're a Latin Catholic, ego te absolvo, I absolve you. You would never hear those words. You would never be absolved. Instead, what you would spend the rest of your life hearing is the final cry of your victim. Now, I don't know about you, but that makes me really grateful to be a Christian. Right? Because I don't know about you, I haven't killed anybody, but not today anyway. But we all need forgiveness. We all need to feel forgiven. Otherwise, there's just this eternal echo which reminds us of what we've done. So that's the other side of these true crime podcasts, which leaves me slightly queasy. You're making entertainment out of people's weaknesses, people's vulnerabilities. But here's the thing, somebody in the chat room said, maybe it's about the mystery, but maybe it's about a sort of perversion of the true mystery. Let me explain what I mean by that. You see, I wonder sometimes, well, let's go back to the start. Let's go back to maybe the first crime. The first true crime appears, I think, Genesis chapter 2. Somebody eats an apple they shouldn't have eaten, or a piece of fruit, or whatever it was. You and I, all human nature, all human beings, are fallen in the Christian understanding. We have concupiscence because of our fallen nature. And that concupiscence means that we have a propensity towards evil, propensity towards doing bad things to other people, to ourselves, not doing the right thing. Do you remember St. Paul talked about this when he said, I want to do something, but I seem to do the other thing. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. So maybe these podcasts are feeding into an aspect of who we are, which isn't all that good, right? What do you think? Tell me. Jump into the chat room. CrusadeChannel.com/chat, or give me a ring, 844-527-8723. Let me know what your views are. So, I just wonder if these True Life podcasts are leading us down primrose paths that we should not really tread. Yes, there is an interest and a curiosity, I should say, about this type of thing, but it's not altogether healthy. It's the kind of curiosity which we've all had and which we're all ashamed of when you're driving on the freeway and there's a crash. You ever had that experience? And you don't want to look. But you do. You kind of glance over. Thank God I rarely see anything, because normally the emergency services have cordoned it off, kept it safe from everybody's prying eyes. But there's a propensity within us to do that. And I just wonder if these true crime podcasts are sort of playing into that part of our being. And I think it's a maybe unhealthy thing. Lord Sidious in the chat room, good morning to you, sir. You're saying, I hate rubbernecking. Hate it. Why do you hate it, though? Why do you hate it? You hate it because maybe it's telling us something about ourselves which we don't really like, which is that we are curious more so than we should be about other people, other people's lives. I wonder as well if there's a kind of agenda here. Now, I know I can say this in the Crusade Radio Network and nobody's going to shoot me down. But if you think about what true crime podcasts do, they desensitize, right? Even more so, I think, on the television when they have those rather horrible graphic shots from the police department, you know, bloodstains or whatever, you know, all that stuff, which I find I can't watch, not interested in it. But it kind of desensitizes, doesn't it? I mean, why do we want to look at dead bodies or people mangled? You know, it's not something we should be looking at. But I wonder again if there's a kind of part of us or something around us that's pushing us in that direction. And why? Well, then death becomes kind of normative, right? You sort of just shrug your shoulders. And then you might want to think about what other things are dealing death in society today, whereby people start to shrug their shoulders. I think you know what I'm talking about. If death is kind of something that just happens and part of the entertainment, well, if somebody wants to kill a, you know what I'm talking about. Death comes cheap in this society. We like to think that we are a society that prizes life, celebrates life. You know, all this garbage you get from governments, government departments about celebrating. They're always celebrating this and celebrating that. They're always celebrating the wrong things. But I'm not surprised because where they're starting from is often the wrong place. So I think there's an element of desensitizing, but I think as well there may be an element of, well, there used to be the sin of curiosity, believe it or not. It's not much talked about today. But it's having an unhealthy interest in things which are of no interest to you and may, in fact, be detrimental to you morally. And I'm afraid that's kind of where I would place these true crime podcasts. For the life of me, I can't think why I would ever want to spend 41 hours watching or listening to a podcast about murder. I wouldn't want to spend 41 minutes. In fact, I'd be hard-pressed to spend 41 seconds on such a thing, other than to utter a prayer for the victim and a prayer for the perpetrator, that he might repent. Now, I once went to a true crime murder scene. It was in Italy. It was in a small town just outside Rome. And it was a farmhouse, and it was where a 12-year-old girl had been murdered, knifed to death while resisting rape. And in that farmhouse, on the wooden floor, there were still the bloodstains from the murder. Now, you might say, well, what were you doing there? Well, I was making a pilgrimage because the murder happened at the start of the 20th century, and the victim's name was St. Maria Goretti, who many of you will know, a Catholic saint, a 12-year-old girl. A wonderful, tragic story in a human sense, but a wonderfully spiritually uplifting story in another sense. Now, if it had simply been the death of a child of 12, at the lustful hands of a 20-something-year-old man, that would have been a pretty sad, dismal, despairing place to go and visit, and I certainly would not have been paying any pilgrimages there. But you probably know the story didn't end there. Maria was taken dying to the local hospital where she forgave Alessandra, who was the murderer. He was subsequently captured, taken to prison, or taken to court. He denied everything, but he was found guilty, went to prison for many years, denied everything, and was not a model prisoner at all. And then he had a dream. You probably know this. He had a dream where Maria came to him in the middle of the night and offered him a lily, which is a sign of purity, I believe. And this man was anything but pure. Anyway, Alessandra was completely converted by this vision of his victim, went to see the chaplain and the governor the next day, repented of everything, admitted everything, and afterwards became a model prisoner. So much so that he was released from prison some years later in the early 50s, late 40s, early 50s, I can't remember exactly. But here's the thing, what happened next. Remember I was talking about the families of these true crime podcasts? Well, when Alessandro was released, guess where he went next? Some of you will know this story. It was Christmas Eve, and he turned up at the door of Maria's mother. Christmas Eve. He knocked on the door, she opened it, and there stood in front of her was the man who had killed her 12-year-old daughter. What would you do if you opened the door to a murderer? What would you do if you opened the door to the murderer of your 12-year-old daughter? I don't know about you, but I don't think I would do what Maria's mother did. Maria's mother and Alessandra went together that night to midnight mass, Christmas Eve, and prayed together. Alessandra came a few years later to St. Peter's Square, where St. Maria Goretti was made a saint. So when that child was lifted to the altars, as we say in the Catholic Church, in the congregation at St. Peter's there was her mother and her murderer. That's quite a combination. I'm sure you'll agree. Now, put that story that I've just told you, which is true, that is a true crime story. Put that alongside some of these other true crime podcasts, which simply recount the grisly details of why somebody was murdered or not, or how they were murdered, never mind why they were murdered. Can you see the difference? Can you see the difference? You see, one is dealing ultimately with... Do you remember I talked about those young ladies that were listening to podcasts of this sort, and all they felt was fear and paranoia? These podcasts, I maintain, are dealing with a kind of existential despair for its listener. They tell you about the bad things in life. They tell you about the awful things human beings do to each other, but that's it. Whereas the life of Maria Goretti tells you about something else. It's like a scintilla of the whole redemption of the human race, wrought by our Lord. It tells you about suffering, it tells you about pain, it tells you all the things that this Through Life podcast tell you, but it tells you something much more. It tells you about redemption. It tells you about forgiveness. It tells you about ultimately overcoming the pain of what is inflicted upon us. See, I would suggest that Maria's mother, that night when she knelt beside the murderer of her child, she was as liberated by that as he was. But you can only understand that through a Christian lens. You can only understand that if you've got some understanding of the overall plan, the overall approach, which is one that has to go through another crime scene, that of Calvary, the only crime scene that you should spend 40 hours meditating upon, which happened 2,000 years ago. What do you think? Talk to me. 844-527-8723. We have a couple of minutes left. Anybody want to phone in and say, Kevin, you're all wrong? Listen, we're coming to the end of the show, and it's been an absolute pleasure just to spend this hour with you. I hope, and if you could let me know in the chat room, that you were able to hear me, because like you, I was listening before, and it was a little bit of a hard challenge at times to kind of make out. No offense to anybody. Justin was doing his very best, and I'm sure Mr. Parrott was doing what he does very, very effectively. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with you. Absolute pleasure to spend this part of the morning with you and everybody who's involved in this great endeavor, which is the Crusade Radio Network. Now, I'm sure there's lots of really good things lined up later today for you. If you're feeling like you need to get something for the weekend, remember to head over to the Mike Church's Founders Trading Post at shop.mikechurch.com. And if you're listening in Atlanta, WXKG 1010 AM, The King, this is the Crusade Radio Network. Check it out at crusadechannel.com. You can find out more about the station, about the hosts, and about lots of other good things as well. Listen, you guys in the chat room, you guys listening in